You have taken us through, Mr. Clay, your early beginnings with HP, and then you were sharing with us the reason why you parted company with them. If you could just briefly summarize that, and then, as Dr. Cannon said, move into the rest of the story for us.
Well, to begin, the reason I left Hewlett Packard Company was that Bill Hewlett and I did not agree on some important things. In fact, one thing he disagreed with me on was that a product that I had built and sold to Holiday Inn that he did not want as part of Hewlett Packard Company. Although, then go fast forward, in 2001, he bought that back. 2001, he bought it back, the product that he refused to have me bring into HP. He bought it back into HP for $20 billion, 20 billion with a B. That was one thing. I'm going to go far beyond that. That was the beginning of Silicon Valley, as you know it.
Yes.
Because in 1972, when I left HP, I was approached by a young man to develop what Bill Hewlett had rejected, and that became Tandem Computers. That was the beginning of Kleiner, Perkins, Caulfield, and Bayer. Tom Perkins and I had worked together at Hewlett Packard Company, and he knew what I had done there. And he wanted me to be involved with the beginning of the private sector, which was Tandem Computers, and that was the beginning of Silicon Valley, the most successful IPO that they had done, anybody had done. And that was the beginning of Silicon Valley, and that was the beginning of Kleiner, Perkins, Caulfield, and Bayer. But the day that I decided to leave HP was after I'd had a discussion with Bill Hewlett, and that time I had become general manager of the computer division of HP. There was no other computer activity. And Bill came to my office and said, Bill Hewlett said, "You've done a very good job, and for that, I want to give you an increase of salary," which he did. And he said, "Further, I want to give you an increased number of stock options, so I would own more of HP." And prior to then, David Packard had designated that I would be among the top 60 people in HP forever. But the last thing Bill Hewlett said, "Now, I also want to tell you that I want to name George Newman as general manager to replace you, because I want someone to manage that division and knows nothing about computers." Well, mind you that I knew more than anybody at HP, but that was the reason why he didn't want me in that position. And when my mother had told me that if you were the best, you ought to be considered for that. And I remember when the company in Hewlett at St. Louis, they said they would not hire me because I was black. I couldn't reconcile what Bill Hewlett had said, but he wanted to replace me as a top person by someone who knew nothing about computers. I went home that evening, which that was earlier than normal, and I said to my wife, I talked to her. I told her about my discussion with Bill Hewlett and what he had done. Her response immediately was, "Then why are you going to stay at Hewlett Packard Company?" and I give my resignation the next day. So when I talk to young people about what we can do and should be doing, I also talk about people who have already done things. Like, again, George Washington Carver, Paul Robeson, right? People who have done things, and that, whereas I wanted to be a professional baseball player, I couldn't go with the St. Louis Cardinals because they didn't hire black blood. But I remember that just do the things that you know how to do well. And the best of all alternatives is do things not only can you do well, but also that you like to do. Okay? And I follow my wife's advice in leaving HP, because I've done some other things. And I talk to young people about things they should be doing in life. Learn how to do something well. Right? I said to my kids, learn how to do something well. They became engineers and scientists, but I didn't prod them to do that. They did it because they wanted to do things.
These were your children?
My children.
Oh, a daughter and a son?
No, I have 3 sons.
3 sons?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And my company name is Rod L Electronics that I started after HP. And my son's name is Rodney Lewis. So the Rod L is a Rodney Lewis.
Yes.
And I did that because when I was searching for a name, she said, why don't you name the company Rod L? It has a high-tech sounding name.
Royal.
And I wanted to work with you, whatever you do.
Royal Electronics.
Well, I was going to name it Royal. She said, no, name it Rod L.
Royal.
Now, tell us something about the sticker I was reading about that carries Rod L on it that's associated with the field of technology.
Well, I also worked with IBM when they decided to develop the personal computer. And nobody knew that. In fact, the chairman of IBM, Akers, did not want that publicized. In fact, he made that kept quiet. And I happened to find out about them by pure coincidence about what they were doing. Was when I designed the product that I had designed at Rod L, I called them because I thought they would need it. They said, yes, it's done right here in Boca Raton, Florida, and we want you to visit us. And when I finished with them, with that design and taking into the marketplace the personal computer, they did something that was quite unusual. On the rear panel of the high-pot tester of what we built, they had the name, rear panel of the computer, that the name Rod L was on the back of the, so to distinguish it from non-IBM product,
Yes.
it had to have Rod L on the back, on the rear panel. And they did that. They didn't have to ask me to do it. They just did that.
Yes.
But I was surprised when I found it, that when they delivered the first personal computer that they built, they had Rod L on the back of it. Now, to get that computer into the marketplace, they had to make a test. The last test they made on the product before they put it in the box to ship it was a test that was made by the product that I made. Which, now, the product was that Underwriters Laboratories required that after manufacturing was complete, a test which should be made to ensure that the product would be electrically safe from by a shock hazard. That is, the products you have in your house, computer, microwave oven, are designed to operate at 120 volts. However, when a power outage occurs, the voltage may turn back on at 1,000 to 1,500 volts. And if the user of that product happens to touch it at that time, and the product is not insured to withstand that voltage surge, you could be shocked, you could be killed.
Oh, I see.
In fact, a few days ago, there was a state publicized user of Apple computer that was electrocuted.
Wow.
While you use it. That was not more than 3 weeks ago.
Oh, just recently?
Yeah,
Oh.
very recently. And I talked to Apple, and they assured me that the person who was using the computer and electrocuted was using a non-Apple designated product.
I see.
Yeah. But that is what we designed and used for IBM. This is used by every manufacturer of personal computers that were Hewlett Packard Company, Apple, Dell, DEC, all of them use that tester to ensure that a user of their computer will not be shocked.
I see.
Yeah. And the most dangerous product you have in your house, that is one that most likely to and cause that kind of damage, is your television set. Because remember, when you first saw a television set, you had to turn it on and wait until power was brought to it. Today, power is instant on. It's always there. So you could be shocked. And if you had to touch your computer or your television set at a time, a power surge caused by power turning on right here in your area,
I see.
which happened many times. Earthquakes cause it.
Oh, I see.
Now, I have a personal question. You do not really have to respond, but given your history, story that you have shared with us, do you have any regrets as we hear the names of Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, and we never hear the name of Roy L. Clay?
Well, my late wife, brought she used to bring newspaper clippings to me. And one, I don't know where it is now, but I mentioned to Bill Hewlett that he established a computer software facility. And his response to me was no, he would not do it. And that my suggesting it only implied that I was doing what he called empire building. That I wanted to build up something bigger.
Empire.
And then the clipping that my wife had from the Chronicle newspaper was that Bill Gates was at Stanford at his forum, and he sat between Bill Hewlett and David Packard. And that product that Bill Hewlett said no to me, Bill Hewlett and Bill Gates said I had, and his net worth, Bill Gates' net worth was greater than Bill Hewlett and David Packard combined. And I often said, what did they think about? What were they thinking about after that? that, and again, what I want our young people to know is what can happen if you learn to do something well and you pursue it. So that we don't know what Trevor Martin would have been had he gone through.
Yes, yes.
But I had come through an era, a time, and when I studied by candlelight and no window appointment, and came to be a founder of Hewlett Packard Company. Okay? And I started just, and they should know that. I don't want them to praise me for what I've done.
Yeah.
But you think this is what we can learn to do. Okay? That is what all of us can do.
Yeah.
Okay? Just as we can play baseball well, or we can, good entertainers.
Yes.
We can also can make contributions to any other area
Yeah.
Yes.
that we pursue.
Right.
I thought, and just yesterday, as I was dragging along, I thought about there's a movie with Sammy Davis Jr. called Mr. Bojangles. Remember that?
Yes. Yes.
That the greatest dancer type ever. Right? And I was so pleased with seeing that, with the talent that he had.
Yes.
He was only able to get into entertainment. He could have done many other things, right? Just as football players and basketball players and baseball players.
Tennis players.
Yeah,
Yes.
they can do things well, right? And we should not be distracted by other things that maybe we like, but we can't do as well.
Yes.
And for some other things. Right?
Now, let me ask you, if you had it to do all over again, what would you do different?
Nothing. I would follow what my parents told me. That learn how to do something well. And there's no greater fate than to be successful at something you know how to do well and that you like to do. Right? And you don't necessarily know what that's all going to be in the end. And as I say, I just turned 84 last week, and I'm trying to determine what I want to do when I grow up.
Yes.
So
yeah,
when
I
you
love
were
that.
when you were working on the computer and all of that, what did you like about that?
Well, what I liked about it was that it was pure logic. What caused these things to happen was our thinking things through.
Yes.
What we wanted in the end, something to be. And in the beginning, how do we make that happen? And everything that you see that Apple's done, and Google and everybody else, it's through pure logic, thinking about how something can happen. Person who's done great things has conceived them, what he or she wants to do, and how to make it happen.
That's right.
And who are you doing it for?
Yeah.
Why are you doing it?
I think of George Washington Carver also,
Yeah,
because he was persistent.
Yeah.
And he was the flowers, plants, making them grow,
yeah.
and he was just focused,
Yeah.
very focused, and
Yeah.
enjoyed what he was doing,
And-
had a passion.
Yeah, at a time when education was segregated. We had just come out of being illegally educated, right? For someone to gain the knowledge that he'd gained, right? With, I don't know, persistence had to be part of it. And
Yeah, and the other part is intellect.
Yeah.
The capacity is there.
Yeah.
So it's about seeing and believing and doing.
Yeah.
And it's that thing that nothing would hold you back if you were able to go ahead and do it.
Yeah,
And somehow it gets done.
yeah.
And it's nice when it's done easily. But
Right.
I'm thinking you had obstruction, a little bit of obstructions
Well-
that came along.
Yeah, there were obstructions, and had to do with race, many of them.
Yes.
But I told you earlier, my mother said, never let racism be the reason you don't succeed.
Never let racism be the reason you don't succeed.
Yes.
That probably needs to be a quote.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. And you get, yeah.
Now, if you had to choose someone, to name someone that influenced you outside of your mother, if you had a mentor, role model, who would that be growing up?
Yeah. Was the Paul Robeson.
Paul Robeson, yeah.
Paul Robeson, yeah. Because he could do many things.
Yeah.
Well.
Football player,
Yes.
and he got spiked in his leg, I
yeah,
believe, several times.
Yeah.
He didn't let that stop him.
Oh, right. Yeah. My role model overall was Paul Robeson. And I mentioned that in 1951 at St. Louis University when I was asked in a sociology class where we asked who our role model was, and I mentioned Paul Robeson.
Wow.
And it was quiet.
Hush.
Quiet, huh? In the
Quiet.
room.
Because I didn't know as much then as I knew later about Paul Robeson, why he was disliked and why he had to leave the country. So my role model was someone who was just disrespected.
Yeah, and George Washington Carver was brought to Congress to speak, and when he was there, they went ahead and they were so late that they went into the end part of the day, and then they were only giving him 15 minutes to speak, but he wound up, they were there for about 2 more hours because what he had to say was so powerful.
Marian Anderson, right? She could not perform.
Yes.
In
In the hall, I believe, the Daughters of
New York.
Yeah, but she sang at the Lincoln Memorial,
Right.
concert. Yes.
Now, as you reflect back upon your life and many of the obstacles and impediments that were placed in your path, where did you find the strength and the resiliency to keep going? People tried to press you down and keep you down.
Well, the support that I got from my family, the neighborhood where I was reared, and the support that I got from my wife after my mother. I didn't do anything that I didn't consult my wife, anything of a major consequence that I did without consulting my wife. She knew about my past. I was in childhood, and my not being hired by McDonald's to begin with, and what I did when I went to HP. She was satisfied with my working. I literally 13 hours a day at HP because I had to get it done. Then one day, and then she, of course, when I had the conversation with Bill Hewlett and he told me what he wanted to do, and she recommended that I leave. Material possessions were secondary. She wanted me to make sure that I liked what I did because I more likely to be successful in doing what I liked to do. And then one day, I began to play golf, and what my wife accepted about it was I would take my kids out with me, board, and let them caddy for me. But I was asked to join the Olympic Club in San Francisco as the first. I didn't know that they had no African Americans. And when they asked me to join, I told them I'd think about it. And on the way home, I tell my wife, and she would give me many reasons why I shouldn't, because of what it costs. Without hesitation, she said, join.
Oh, she did.
And And I was able to become a founder of a foundation at the Olympic Club called the Olympic Club Foundation, the purpose of which is to raise funds to support underprivileged kids in the 9-county area.
Out of the Olympic Club.
Out
Is
of
that
them.
correct?
And to this point, we've generated over $20 million
Really?
Wow.
that I made at a point to designate funds to 9-county underprivileged areas. So money comes to Oakland, we have some in East Palo Alto, and wherever we designated to be. So, giving whatever assistance I can to make our people successful, that's what I will do. I still have time to do that.
Now, as we conclude, just give me the number of years. You speak so fondly of your wife. How many years were you married?
I was married for 38 years.
38
Yeah.
years. Once again, Mr. Clay, I want to thank you for joining us on the show. I want to thank my co-host, Dr. Barbara Cannon. And I want to share with you, at the conclusion of this program, Google the name Roy L. Clay and find out who's in that computer that you are now working on. Thank you so much for being a part of education in our community. Until next time, this is Reverend Robert McKnight saying so long.
And thank you kindly.
So much.